You're listening to the Night Demon Network. Go to nightdemon.net/subscriber to unlock more exclusive content.
Hello and welcome to the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast. I'm your host Nesbitt, and it's another week and we have another great interview. This week we have the man behind Beastmaker and Haunt, Trevor Church. Another really interesting interview. I think you guys are going to like this one. This is the Trevor William Church interview.
Trevor William Church.
What's up, man?
How you doing?
Better now that you're with me here.
Oh, wow, thanks, man.
Always.
Thanks, yeah. So I saw you last week in Houston. We're here in Tulsa. We spent a lot of time together on the road.
Yeah.
Collaborating, putting stuff out.
For sure.
So let's go to the beginning, man. How did it all start for you musically? I mean, obviously, let's talk about just briefly who your father is.
Yeah, so my dad played in Van Morrison, Montrose, Sammy Hagar, so obviously around a lot of cool dudes, and I didn't think it was cool at the time. I thought skating was cool. Tony Hawk was number one, you know what I mean? But eventually as time went on, started playing, but had a little high school band called Lot 6, little punk band, and we just played Op Ivy covers, Misfits, Youth Brigade, Minor Threat, some of those early hardcore bands, trying to figure out what I want to do. And then after high school, finally, I lived in the middle of nowhere, so it was really hard to have a band.
I'm in California.
Yeah, I was in the rural part of California, Calaveras County at that time. And I started I was venturing out a lot, so I was meeting people. I'd go to the Bay Area a lot to shows, in 924 Gilman, West Coast Worldwide in Sacramento, Seifert Center in Stockton. Met some guys out there and was try to infiltrate, I was I'm going to infiltrate these.
So what year would this have been?
Oh man, that would have been 1999.
Right, so and so you were driving then.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's kind of the same even in Ventura, even though we were an hour north of LA.
Yeah.
Before high-speed internet and before having a car, you might as well have been 5,000 miles away.
Yeah.
And nothing was going on.
You can't want to create it, but you can't, and therefore you have to kind of just sit around, play, kind of hone your craft, find the bands that are inspiring you, and then take it out and try to find dudes with similar tastes that are actually playing. I actually found a band that was fizzling out, and became friends with the singer. This dude Robin had a band called 3 Day Weekend in Stockton, and they were doing more of the hardcore punk thing, kind of East Bay hardcore punk. And I became friends with him, and we started a band called Scattered Fall. And we had he was homeless at the time, and his best friend had an interesting name, Dustin Brain Cells. We called him DBC. They all had nicknames. Robin wasn't his name. They tried to give me one, and I was not having it. I'm fucking Trevor. I'm like, you're not calling me some whack-ass fucking weird shit, because I don't want that to, like, cling to me 20 years from now. I was like, no way. And we had a few different drummers, and the drummer had a weird-ass fucking nickname, Fetus. So it was weird, but I played with those guys for a couple years, and we had a little luck. A couple like underground punk labels put out like a 7-inch for us, and a local band from Modesto called Thought Riot got signed to AF Records, which is anti-flag punk band. Most people probably have heard of. They're canceled now. Something happened, but this was fucking a million years ago. Anyway, they were like friends, homie band, took us on our first tour, and we started traveling about.
So you were touring the Anti-Flag?
No. Thought Riot, who was on AF Records. So there was like, they had a little momentum.
But you're like 18, 19 years old, and you're putting out records already.
Yeah, more or less. And but what happened after that was I was kind of like not really wanting to do as much punk, because at that time I found out this band at the drive-in that were like punk, but they weren't. They were a little bit more technical.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing at the drive-in in living rooms.
Yeah, they were playing in basements and such.
It was wild, dude.
They were a wild band. They were out of control, and it just really, I felt like I was like, these guys are better than us as musicians, and I want that technical part.
Right. But they also had like the chaos and the energy and good songwriting.
Yes,
and that's what brought them to like the major.
Beastie
Boys.
Beastie Boys. That was major.
They're one of those bands that I wish would have kept going. Obviously they all spawned off into like Sparta and Mark.
Yeah, which all ended up sucking though, and sadly
they're not.
They dismantle you dismantle. You know this. If you dismantle for too long, sometimes you never get it back.
Right.
Your mojo's there for that one brief period of time. But anyway, so I left Scatterfall to pursue like some other things, and I started this band called The Wooden Horse in Stockton with some local guys, again, of bands
so how
of that
far
area.
Are you living from Stockton?
Oh, I was like 40 miles.
Fuck.
It was a nightmare.
Okay.
But at the time, you got to remember, it was like 99 cents a gallon for gas.
But also, like, I think, like, metal musicians that involve themselves, when they're in a small town especially, involve themselves in the punk rock scene, go way further because they learn how to do it on your own.
Yes, way more like, DIY.
Metal bands that never made it out of our small town were, like, waiting to be discovered, trying to go to Hollywood and do pay-to-play, and hoping that some A&R man's going to walk in and change their lives. You know what I mean? Instead of going out and doing it. So
bookyourownfuckinglife.com, one of the first .coms of the underground.
I do remember that.
And we used to book all of our own gigs, but it was so nice because it was like you email a dude and they like write you back and you had a show, but you'd never talked to him, never seen him before. Right. And obviously there was like not really any money involved in it, but it was more like, let's just fucking go, because we were young and like wanted to. So it gave me a little bit of like the know-how I needed to have for later. But after we did this band, The Wooden Horse, and like we had major drummer issues. I was going to college in Stockton. One night there was like this local place called the Caffeine Den that was like really like on a Friday or Saturday night, it was packed every night. I mean, it's dead now, of course. Like most of that kind of shit doesn't exist. And me and the singer were walking back to our like the van one night, and like a group of like 20 fucking gang members decided like we were their target, and I got a fucking gigantic bottle, like a fucking glass handle, smashed over the back of my head, split my head wide open, and I just kind of like curled up in a ball, and they just beat the shit out of me. And my homie, the singer, Bart Valerio, one of my best friends ever, jumped on top of me, and then he took a beating, and then like he just was like yelling at me, he's like, fucking run. And so I bolted. I like got out from underneath him. I just started running. I saw him behind me. He was running, and we like, they just wanted to kick our ass. They had they did not care about chasing us.
Sure.
They didn't want anything. We were just like, after that, this is when I decided that I was gonna pursue college in Fresno, where my dad lived.
Right.
And at that time, there was like a really good kind of underground indie punk hardcore scene happening. Still, I was always into heavy metal. It was very hard to find people that wanted to play heavy metal.
Of course.
And that was really kind of the thing. Like Metallica is like really like that band that taught me how to play guitar, that opened the door for many things, but there was no local metal, you know what I mean? Like there's nothing at all. But there was a place called Elevator Core Garage, and I infiltrated once again. I was like, I just was like, I knew, like, I was like, this is what I want to do. I need to meet the people that are fucking doing all this stuff and make them believe that I'm the fucking coolest dude on the planet Earth. You know what I mean? And so I got in there, started a couple, like, I don't really know what kind of style bands it would be at. Like some people would say like math rock, but it was much more aggressive. We were screaming,
right,
like over like technical guitar.
Okay.
We had a band called Yacht Club, and the other one was called Marathon. And Marathon was a little bit more poppy, and I hated that band. I actually like. They were very frustrated with me because everybody was into it except for me. I wanted nothing to do with it because I was still kind of like, I want to fucking just like, I want to play distorted. They wanted to play clean, yada, yada, yada. So I decided after that point, I was like, well, I need to find a band that's already existing, has their shit together. Yeah, sorry. Join them. And so randomly out of nowhere, a buddy of mine that from the Scattered Fall days that used to come to all those punk shows in Stockton hit me up and he said, hey man, I'm in this band called An Angle in Sacramento. We're on Drive-Thru Records. We need a guitar player in like 3 days. We're leaving. Our guitar player quit. We're going to be gone for 3 months.
Another canceled label.
Yeah, another canceled label, right? Weirdos too, man.
Richard and Stephanie.
Yeah, so super bizarre. Ended up tagging along with these dudes, and like it was so complicated. I hated his music.
Okay.
With a passion. Okay. I was like, trying to learn it was like one of the biggest hurdles of my life. He
but was it difficult?
He sounded like a mixture of Bright Eyes and a terrible Modest Mouse.
Okay.
And I didn't really know what my part was. Right. I was like, why do you need another guitar player? Because he's playing acoustic, and like I'm more of like a rock guitar player. But again, they had their shit together in the light of like they're signed, they have a van, they tour. I need to get my fucking beak wet.
Right.
Travel with those dudes, and at that time I was just like thirsty for metal. I was I even had like Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction in my sight. I was like, it's either gonna need to be Black Sabbath, Megadeth, or Guns N' Roses. One of any, I will take anything in that general bubble, whatever I could do. And it's funny, so on...
What year is this?
This would have been like 2003.
So that sound, all the sounds you mentioned are fucking dead. They're fucking, they're so underground that there's a coffin on top of it. You know what I mean?
It was very uncool.
Yeah.
Kings of Leon and the Strokes and bands like that were really...
And in metal, it was all new metal.
It was, and I had no interest in that. I could not... The gent new metal... Didn't have it. Yeah, rap rock. And so we played the show in Texas, and it was like there was a place that it was 2 different rooms. And so I was like curious that night, and I was like wandering back and forth, and then I saw these dudes that kind of looked more like I was looking, long hair, boots, tight pants, and just like whatever ripped up shirt you had. And I was like, listening to them, I was like, dude, these guys are doing the shit that I want to do. So I ended up partying with them that night, getting all fucked up. And when they said their name over the PA, when they're like, I thought they said Beastmaker.
Okay.
And I was tripping because I was like, that's fucking sick, dude. This fits this shit so good. And I'm partying with these dudes, and I end up going back to their house with them in like fucking raging with them all night. And I was sitting there with the singer. I was like, dude, Beastmaker is the sickest fucking name I've ever heard, man. It's just so cool. And he's like, nah, man, it's Peacemaker. Oh. And I was just like, light bulb above my head. I was just like, Beast. That's the name. I was like, that's what I'm gonna try to create. And it went through a lot of metamorphosis because I ended up moving to LA for a while because I was like, I need to find heavy metal musicians. There's none in Fresno. This is the only place I go. I was dating a girl that was going to Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandise, and her parents were rich. I got to live at her house for free. So I was like, okay, here's my shot. Like,
typical Hollywood story.
Yeah, right. Like, musician moves in with the girl with family with money. I had none. I was doing hair though. I found a place to I had my license and I was working through all those years. But I found really quickly that LA was not going to be the place for it. I mean, I was going to all these auditions, found a couple dudes that seemed like they wanted to do rock and roll. They were really into AC/DC, and I was like
finding ads online.
Yeah, Craigslist at that time, early era Craigslist. Right. And I can't even remember what they're called. I think they were called like the Spades or some shit. And I was like, okay, that's rock and roll enough for me. But we were rehearsing. I ended up like on bass because at that time, like I said, I did not really care. I just wanted to do something aligned with something that I thought was like cool. Yeah. I didn't really care. There was no like stars or anything like that. I was like never a financial anything. It was just like cool band. Right. I want to be in a cool fucking band. And I'm playing, and like I was the guitar player, had a cool Les Paul, and he called himself Lightning Lee because I'll never forget him because of what he did. I asked him if I could play his guitar, and he said, nobody touches my guitar except for me. I just walked out, and then I never talked to them again.
Okay, right.
I was like, fuck that. I was like, this is not cool. You know, if you're going to be, I want to be in a cool band. I don't want to be in a band full of assholes.
That's always weird about meeting somebody online.
Yeah,
it's like you have no rapport at all.
None.
You know?
You could see what they look like. They have long hair, and you're like, oh, cool. You got cool clothes, like, right on. And so, but at that time, I was really like, I was listening to so much like Def Leppard actually, and I knew that was like so far out of. I mean, that was really dead. That sound, like nobody, and besides, even recreating something like that, way hard. So I was like, well, thrash, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I was just one day, I was just like, just on YouTube, trying to like, I was like Black Sabbath type band, like literally like that, and Orchid came in there 2006, and Theo's there, you know, with his fucking hippie shit on, and I hear them play, and I was like, oh fuck, there is a band actually doing this. Right. Okay, rad. But even still, then that was way out of sight, and I ended up moving back to Fresno, and you know, my current drummer Andy and I convinced him. I was like, listen, Metallica, Kill 'Em All, Megadeth, Rust in Peace, greatest shit. Like, I was like, and Slayer, I was like, I want to do something very aggressive, very fast. And so the first parts of being Beastmaker was like thrash metal for like for 3 years.
Did you ever record?
We did, and it ended up
released it.
Yeah, it was really bad, and it just wasn't quality. We tried to go into some studios and we just weren't tight. We couldn't find a bass player. We had a really hard time finding people to even. Andy was the only one that was like, yeah, dude, this is fucking gonna be cool. And so we kind of like hit a wall where we're like, yo, it's time to do like, you know, I was like, let's fucking just try to like play some Black Sabbath shit. Like let's jam like Into the Void.
So like actual Sabbath songs.
Yeah, actual Sabbath songs. I had got like this Fox Fuzz wah pedal.
Singing and playing guitar.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. I had a Fox Fuzz wah pedal from like the 1960s. It was really cool, and I plugged it into the Ampeg, which, you know, my dad's Ampeg, and I had a big ass like vertical 412 cab at the time, and I just started hitting notes on it, and Andy was just like, dude, that thing sounds fucking sick. And the next big thing, again, bass player. Who the fuck? And Andy was like, yo, this dude John, his band just broke up. His drummer left to join this like kind of climbing indie rock band at the time, Stone Foxes. Actually had quite they I think they still are around and have a pretty good like little indie career.
Right.
So we jumped on it. I barely knew John.
Right.
I only by like, hey, I seen his band a couple times at the club. And I convinced him, I was like, hey, you know, like just for this summer, like we're just going to start a summer band. Like let's just jam in this room. We'll smoke pot all day and like maybe we can play a show.
It's actually a very freeing concept.
Yeah.
In general, you know,
yeah.
Right?
Just fuck around. Like nothing serious until it, you know. And then we realized real quickly, we started kind of like writing a few songs and we're like, it just started to kind of click a little bit. And we went and recorded like 4 songs up in the mountains. And it was like, once again, it was just a terrible letdown. Like, just wasn't good, you know? And I was just like, this isn't good. I was almost ready. Honestly, I was, you know, I'm like 30 years old at this point. So many years have passed. This of epic proportions of failure. Yeah. Like no success in anything. But, you know, I had been on the road with that drive-through band. I think I toured with them for like 2 years. So there was like a lot of like want. You know, I was like, I want to get in a van and travel.
What's the time gap between when you stopped touring and this?
Oh, massive! It would have been like literally probably like 2006 when I found Orchid. Yeah. I had so I got in a van with Ann Engel in 2006, and they were just a mess to deal with. Right. And I actually. They had a manager, ground control out of Sacramento. Still exists. Yep. It still exists.
It's an agency.
And I basically told them, you know, 5 days in, I was like, I want to go home. Because like shows were getting canceled. It was really bad. Like,
but like, what's the gap between when you were?
That's what. So 2000. So at 2006, I don't think I got back up and running until like 2012.
Yeah.
Before Beastmaker started playing. So that's when we started. But, you know, the thrash metal Beastmaker was playing shows. So I will consider not touring, but playing in front of people.
But no, I have a similar kind of situation. I think I've had about an 8-year gap between being in a full-time touring band and not. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's
crazy.
Like once you have the taste of it.
Yours.
No, that's yours.
No, mine's down here.
Once you have the taste of that, and especially like when you get it when you're young. And then you hit 30, you're like, and you're trying to get back there the whole time, right? You're just like, dude, is this, it's like suicidal almost. It's like, this is all I want to do? Is this what I'm relegated to? What have I been doing the last decade? Did I not do it right? Did I not try hard enough? I gotta find a way, and that's when you get to that breaking point where you're like, it's like do or die, right?
Yes.
So at this point,
that's where I was at.
Right, exactly. I
was there, and I was just like this. You know, because it was like we went to a studio, and it just wasn't like what I heard in my head and what we were putting down. We're not even in the same league.
Also, think about this: it's natural to compare yourself to other people.
Yeah.
So when you see other bands that have like made it and they're like your age, or you look at like, you know, my dad was in a band with Michael Anthony. They were in their first band. I mean, my dad decided to not pursue music seriously, but Mike did.
Yeah.
And like Van Halen 1 comes out, and those guys are 20 years old, right? And your dad, I mean, come on, dude. He's playing with Van Morrison. He was way younger than you.
He was in his 20s.
Yeah, he was younger than you were.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that shit like becomes a harsh reality.
It is a very harsh reality. There's no ifs and buts about it. And like also just, you know, knowing that you can't wield it within your own hands. It's like you are going to rely on some other people.
You know what else sucks too? Like if your parents, even though they come from the scene, if they're not mega rich or mega famous, there's no nepotism, dude.
None.
Like there's not like, oh, I'm gonna call Ted Templeman and he's gonna fucking produce a record for you and take it to Warner. You know what I mean? Like, that's not happening.
My dad was out of the game for way too long at that point. We're talking like 20 some odd years.
But still, like, that's what I'm saying. That stuff's not happening.
Yeah, we were poor. I did not come from any sort of any money at all. Like, I
have nothing against nepotism, because like, it's like, what? Of course, why wouldn't you? Yeah. Why wouldn't you do all you feed your kid and put shoes on his feet and send him to college? If you have an open door to something that they want to do and that's their passion, like, of course, why wouldn't you do that?
You should, and I mean that's not. I mean, if their heart is truly into it, you know what I mean. Right. They kind of have to be good. But and like, I would make them like cut their teeth a little.
And see, that's the thing. Most people do. Yeah. But they're still going to be criticized by the public. Sure. I mean, look at like LeBron James, his kid. He's a great basketball player. Is he the best that ever played like his dad? No. Is Wolfgang Van Halen? He's a phenomenal player. He's a pretty good songwriter too. I'm not really into that style, but like, he can hold his own. Is he the greatest guitarist of all time like his dad? No. He's him. You know what I mean?
You can't replicate your parents and be better than them. No. You know, that's a tall order that so very few can. I was always very like, that was always in the back of my mind, like, because my dad is such a great bass player. I still think he's one of the best in the world.
Did you feel like you were trying to like live up to his legacy in any way?
I just wanted him to give me a pat on the back. Good job. Did you get that? Now, with Han, he was not really into Beastmaker because it was more horror.
Did he discourage you from...
Never.
Not from playing music, but from pursuing the dream?
No.
No, okay.
Mm-mm. It was always...
Did he encourage it?
Yeah. I would say that both my mom and my dad, they really wanted me to do it because they could see that, like, that brought probably the most happiness to me over anything. And we skipped a major part of, like, a lot of my family, like my close cousins, dying tragically. So really? During all this,
like drugs or accidents,
car accidents, 2 of them, motorcycle accident, car accident, and then a drug overdose. Yeah. All people I grew up with, and I'm an only child, so it was very devastating. So that really took it gave me like a 6 years of just complete darkness, and then Beastmaker kind of gave me the light, like.
Okay, so we're at Beastmaker.
Yeah, so now I do. So we went to the mountains and we recorded a pure caca EP that like nobody's ever heard.
Okay.
And I hated it, and I told Andy and John, I said, listen, I don't think we're gonna get what we want to do up here. I was like, I was recording all my demos in my basement. I'm like, these are in my bedroom, and I was like, these are better than what we're getting right now as far as like us like playing. Like, we're going up there, and this guy's like, another drum take. I don't know if it was just a money thing or whatever studios do, but I was like, listening to the, like, it sucks because, like, we were kind of, like, doing the same shit as, like, in the same world as, like, Uncle Acid when they hit. And they came right there, and I heard them, and I was just like, these dudes aren't even, this is terrible audio quality. This is lo-fi.
Which is kind of a thing for that sound.
So that's what really spawned everything. I was like, we don't need to sound good. We just have to play these songs good and give it the vibe.
But so were you, when in this early stuff, like this first, not the thrash Beastmaker, but this first EP that nobody's ever heard.
Yeah.
That sucks. Are you doing a more hippy dippy kind of like doom? Because here's the difference. Like when you hear bands like Uncle Acid, Graveyard, Witchcraft, Orchid, like the first wave of like, especially a lot of the foreign like stoner doom, not even stoner, just kind of like, they're way more retro, hippie-ish than they are metal. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I think it's more of a hipster kind of feel. Yeah. Of like, hey, like we're, like I've got an old Slingerland kit and I wear a flowery shirt. Versus like when Sabbath was doing that, that was the current style. They weren't trying to be like really hippies. They were dope smokers, but like, I feel like from what I heard later from Beastmaker, it's way more metal.
I was more like it was only the less psych, it was less what those bands were doing and more about like what it sounded like, because I was like, it sounds like shit. And I was like, we could do this. And
so sonically it sounded
to me, I was
the
like,
songs were okay.
That's what I liked about Uncle Acid, was it was like, it sounded like it was recorded in a barn.
Sure.
There's no kick drum.
Right.
Like, literally, it's all hi-hat. If I go back and listen to Bloodlust, I'm like, well, you hear the hi-hat more than any of the other drums.
Yeah.
And, you know, it kind of had an eeriness to it that I kind of dug. But I was still really more interested in some, like, bands like Witchfinder General, and, of course, California legendary doom metal, Saint Vitus.
So those are those are metal bands.
So I was like watching more what those guys. I was like SST.
Well,
Southern
even
California.
though Vitus was on SST, they're a metal band.
Yeah, fuck yeah. And so I thought those bands were much cooler as far as that, because like I kind of tried to do some of the hippie shit. Like I honestly I could say that without feeling dumb. I mean, like, it's just part of the whole thing. Yeah. But as soon as like I put it on, I was like, I'm like, I'm too skater. Like, I'm too much of like this, like...
You're more of a songwriter, too.
And so...
It was a psychedelic jam set.
It just didn't make any sense. And even when I met Theo from Orchid for the first time, because he didn't really know what I look like, he's like, oh, you're like more into like... new wave of British... You look more new wave of British heavy metal.
He's a British dude, right?
No, he's California.
Really?
Yeah.
Why
he lives out in San Rafael and those areas.
Are from England.
Nah, they're all
Acid.
Uncle Acid's from England.
Right.
Orchid's from San Francisco Bay Area. So those are guys like
Orchid toured with Sabbath, didn't they?
I think so.
They did, yeah.
Or Uncle Acid definitely did. Yeah. I know that. But anyway, so I'm around those guys. Right. So like, you know, I kind of like again infiltrated into Orchid, but you know, I just couldn't get the hippie. You know, it just wasn't working. I was like, we're gonna look like what we should look like. I'm gonna, you know, like studs, jeans, shoes, you know, no boots, none of that. Because we did try it, and it was just too dorky for me. I did not feel like myself.
Right.
I was like, I'd rather just look like a skater dude, like than this. And I told the dudes, I was like, listen, I'm gonna write 4 new songs. That we're not gonna, these ones that we did up in the mountains, they're gone. Yeah. They don't exist anymore, because like I was like, I'm not happy, and just let me do whatever I want. So I basically wrote some riffs and had Andy come over. He just did some really bad drum takes on it, like just really never hearing it, and that's what we went with. And we had I at the time I was very just horror movie everything, because at that time I had a friend that was like really pushing a lot of stuff to me.
Any specific era or style?
Oh, definitely.
Or is it all over the board?
Tombs of the Blind Dead, anything Mario Bava.
Okay, so
Italian horror, Spanish horror, you know.
So like 70s occult kind of.
Yeah, basically, but like a lot. But then there's like the Vincent Price stuff that I think is still like, if I have to watch something now, I probably would watch Vincent Price over it all, because I feel like the quality is a little bit better, and he's a really good character actor. And I used his face for You Must Sin. Right. I used to collect like horror movie lobbies from the 60s. You know, lobby posters, 11-inch by 16-inch. Yeah. And I bought this sick ass Dr. Phibes French poster, and his face is yellow and there's blood on it. So I fucking took a picture, scanned it, put it on my computer, and just put like Beastmaker and the blood instead of Dr. Phibes, removed it. And that was the cover, and I call it, you know, the You Must Sin. put it on Bandcamp. The first time I was like, Bandcamp was very new.
So band hasn't played a show.
Band has not played a show. Right. We played as the thrash metal.
Right. Okay. All right.
We never played the doom metal.
So no following.
None.
Okay.
No following at all. I put it up there on Bandcamp, and like, no joke. Like, I had one friend, my friend Tony Trujillo. He hit me up. He's like, "Hey man, he's like, this is fucking sick, bro." And like, he's the dude that's like really into horror movies. He's like, "I got a buddy out in LA that's like a horror movie fanatic. He's gonna fucking go ape shit over this. I'm gonna send it to him." And so he sent it to him, and it ends up being Scott Carlson of Repulsion.
Yeah.
And Scott hit me up. He's like, "Hey man, I work for Rise Above. I think this shit is tight. I love the whole thing." He's like, "The sound, it's all lo-fi and yada yada yada. I'm gonna talk to Lee Dorian about this." And like 2 weeks later, I'm recording our debut for Rise Above Records, and a month later, we basically were, album really was fast for Europe. Like, so he had it ready.
Release is a full length.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the You Must Sin, he did like a 7-inch, but then like I already had all the songs ready to go.
So the band signed before you play a show.
Yeah, we used to have a joke where like we got signed before we even had a T-shirt.
That's amazing.
So we got lucky there.
And that's incredible,
It is.
What year is this?
This would be 2014 is when we signed.
Okay.
Early.
Right.
So 2015, Lucis Naturae came out on Rise
So,
Above.
what's happening between this whole period of time, 2006 and 2014?
Just the evolution of Trevor Church.
But are
honestly.
you working on Beastmaker?
Yeah, it was all like basically trying to figure out what the fuck the genre was going to be.
That's a big gap.
Massive gap. So that's like 8 years.
Yeah.
So 8 years of that. Plus I was getting sober.
Sure.
I got sober at 29.
Yeah.
So it took another couple years after that to kind of get to that point, because like I was in a very dark place of my life, and I needed to like really, I wanted to be a musician, and I knew that like if I was continually getting fucked up all the time, I was never going to be able to write anything because I was just clouded.
Yeah.
But I was working as a cosmetology instructor at a career college, and it was really hard because it was a demanding job. I was renting a station, and I had to go kind of back and forth, work, write. I would write my songs at like 5 a.m. before I go to work.
That's the best time to write, dude.
Yeah,
Brain's fresh.
Yeah, it was fresh. It was fresh, and I was really inspired to like not work there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I was and Bandcamp, I couldn't believe it that a whole thing happened, spawned off of that.
It was the same for us. Once we uploaded to Bandcamp, it was like overnight. Like, what is happening?
You know what's funny about that, about Night Demon to me, is so I had no idea who you guys were. We played in Richmond, Virginia, and like I don't know, I guess it was 2016. Beastmaker was on tour with Monolord, and I think Windhand was there hanging out and everything, and we went back to somebody's house, and they're like, "Have you heard this band Night Demon?" I was like, "No," and they put Cursed on, and I was like, "This sounds like fucking Diamond Head." I was like, "This is sick." I was like, I didn't know. I was like, because in my mind, I'm like thinking that there's not even a market for new wave of British heavy metal bands.
When we started, we didn't think so either.
I was like, new wave. I was like,
even trying to be.
I was like, new wave of British heavy metal band. Like, I was like, what the?
We weren't even trying to be a band.
And it was sick because he had it on vinyl, so it was like a little bit more cool.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because I saw the record and I was like, fucking Diamond Head horror. Like, I was like, these dudes are they're doing the horror thing, but like the singer has a Diamond Head vibe. And I hadn't met you yet.
Yeah.
We hadn't even crossed paths yet. But I signed I'll be honest, I signed a really kind of dumb contract with them.
We've all done it.
And it really it put a big like roadblock in Beastmaker's career. We were doing big shit, we had a Zach Wild tour we did for a month around
Black
America.
Label?
No, Zach Sabbath.
Perfect.
So it was very good for us.
Right.
And after we got home from that, we already had our second album out. We had the opportunity to go out with this. Now the big difference where we are heavy metal guys versus the stoner hippie doom.
Right.
We went out with Stone Jesus.
Right.
And people hated us.
Really?
Yeah. It was the worst tour of my life because I think that like they saw us and, metal, bullet belts and studs, leather jackets, and just the way we looked. I used to have a beard back then, so we all had beards. Yeah. And we just looked like shit. I don't think they really, I don't think they really like were into us.
That bums me out, man, because like I feel like the one redeeming quality about playing a traditional style of metal is like I feel like you could play on any kind of metal bill and people will at least understand it and go, yeah, we all came from here, and they can enjoy it. If you're good, they'll enjoy it, but I guess not.
It was good at the festivals because the whole thing at that time, I can't remember what the fucking name of the booking agency is anymore that we were with. But they had something to do with Desert Fest, SOD, Sounds of Liberation, Sounds of Liberation booking. They booked that tour. They put us on with Stone Jesus, but there was like a lot of festivals on that because they were doing Desert Fest, Up in Smoke, Keep It Low or something it was called, and a couple but there was like 3 Desert Fests on there. And Stone Jesus, I didn't know, I had never heard of them. I thought it was just like we're going out with some band. Yeah. I didn't realize we were playing in front of 1,000 people every night.
Wow.
I was just like, holy shit. It was
that big.
Yeah, and we were doing terrible.
It's so funny. So what year is this? 2016?
Yeah, this would be like tail end of 2016.
It's kind of funny because
2017.
So I feel like here we are like 8 years after the fact, and I feel like that scene has like really died.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I mean, there's still people that love it, but you had so many bands that like just sounded so identical to each other. And what happened was a lot of the stoner doom bands, you had a lot of bands that stopped singing. They were starting to growl and like just, yell and do the whole, you know what I mean?
I would say you couldn't even tell like bands like Cadaver that were really, getting very popular, and they were changing their sound too. So I feel like there was like this, like the big bands, even Witchcraft, you couldn't even, when they put out Legend, you're like, what band is this?
I also feel like the bigger bands that you talk about, like in that scene, the bands we've mentioned in this conversation, I mean, not to point fingers at them at all, but
no, they're good bands.
But and they're bigger than us, and they've proven that. But the thing is, they're so inconsistent. Yeah, it seems like they treat it like a vacation band or a hobby band. Like they're not hitting the road hard. They're not putting out records regularly, and what that does, it's not good for that scene. You know what I mean? Yeah. And they're not bringing up other bands while they're doing
tons of copycat bands as well. I felt because and that's another interesting thing that was going on with me at that time, because I had already written Luminous Eyes. I had As Fire Burns.
So Luminous Eyes is the first Haunt EP.
That's the first Haunt song.
Right. Okay. Right.
Period. I was like sitting in my room and I was just like hating the fact that I was like I was showing everybody my songs and they're like, this ain't doom metal. Right. And I was like, yeah, it's not doom metal. Right. Exactly.
Right. So that record, that EP comes out in 2017.
The tail end of 2017.
Right. So now you've got Beastmaker basically with Beastmaker releases span from 3 years, 2014 to 2017.
Yeah.
How much did you put out in that 3 year period?
Just the 3. So we did the EP, the 7-inch, the debut Lucis Naturae, and the sophomore record, Inside the Skull, and I was working on the third record, and I had like 90 songs.
Incredible.
Yeah, I had
3 years.
Yeah, I had so much music written but the reason that there was so many songs is I wasn't happy with any of them.
So all the other Beastmaker EPs that are out there have come out after the fact, after the band was pretty much done.
Yeah, we're done.
But were they recorded while the band was active, or were they recorded after?
They were recorded by myself.
Right.
While we were active.
So you play everything on this, right?
Yeah. Okay. So I had already the songs existed. But I'm simultaneously juggling things now to where I'm like, okay, I just got back from a tour where everybody hated me, and I have Fenriz from Dark Throne giving me Album of the Week for Luminous Eyes, and yet again I put this fucking.
But so
EP.
wait, hang on, you're getting ahead of yourself. So that's out now. The Haunt Luminous Eyes is out.
Yeah.
So you released that while Beastmaker's still a band,
still active.
And Haunt is just like your side solo project. I just want to put out an EP.
It was one of those things that we've all probably done as musicians. It's like throw a piece of spaghetti at the wall and see if it sticks, because I wanted an exit strategy.
In a way, but like you already had the mind-blowing success of doing that. Mm-hmm. Normally, that's not what you do.
No.
Like when you throw a piece of spaghetti at the wall, it usually involves getting a bunch of other guys involved.
Yeah.
Woodshedding for a long time to write songs, and then going out and playing locally, and then trying to play regionally. Like here, you're just
another band that didn't play a show.
Right, but here you're just like you write a song. You record it all yourself. You upload it to the internet. And that's the world we're living in.
That's the world we live in now. And
so as shitty as everybody says the music industry is, there's such a lower barrier to entry now.
Certainly,
right? And this stuff's happening.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And I mean, little did I know. I mean, I had only heard again. At that time, I had only heard a couple bands. There was Night Demon, there's Spell, there's Cauldron, and there's Enforcer, whom I wasn't that they didn't hit me yet like they did when they put out From Beyond, and that was like I was like, whoa, okay, this band is, I can't do that. You know what I mean? Right. I needed to gravitate to something I could do. Sure. You know, so it was more or less or
just be yourself with it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like
exactly
your self-interpretation. Of that.
I didn't know. I had never even heard of new wave of traditional heavy metal. I know we've talked about this before. And then all of a sudden, I put this out, and Fenriz, God bless him for doing that, because that put me on I'd never seen so much money come into my Bandcamp in one day. Right. At that time, I was like...
I mean, he was a tastemaker at the time, If you got on his playlist, metalheads really paid.
It got me all over Europe, and I had labels hitting me up, and I didn't want anything to do with them because of what happened with Beastmaker. Yeah. And I was like, I'm just a dude in Fresno. I want to play music in my bedroom. That was my brain. That was my mindset. I just want to write fucking songs.
Is that because you're being currently screwed over by a label that's independent, right?
Yes.
And they're screwing you hard.
Yeah, it was more we just didn't see eye to eye.
Right, but
it was not good for the band.
Right, but as time has gone on, I could honestly say, without getting into details and without throwing anybody under the bus and avoiding any legalities here, they're kind of screwing you hard. Yeah, So. And so it's a combination of that, and also you're touring with Beastmaker, and you're not translating to the most recent tours that you've done, right? So it's kind of so there's all these discouragements, right?
Discouraged as hell.
And also the fact that okay, you now know that you can just upload something to the internet and it's financially viable.
Yep.
And you can do it yourself.
Yep.
You don't even have to have a band to do it.
Nope.
And so what's the point? This is a good thing. Right, what? Yeah, I don't need to go out there and kill myself.
You don't need to, I couldn't anyways, because it was the idea of even getting a band together and like rehearsing and having to go like play shows was something that was so far removed from me, because I just wanted to write cool songs at the time, because like I had been touring, and like I said, that Stone Jesus tour really like, and they were great guys. I mean, we got along, so we still hang out with Igor when we go to Europe. It has, you know, he loved us, and I just feel like, you know, the fans again, like there's.
Dude, I've been in good bands that have been booed off stage on tour because people came to see somebody and it wasn't us.
Yeah,
you know what I
So
mean?
finally though, you know, like I guess my look, like everything, it had like a place. A little bit, like I still didn't know it until, you know, I was very reluctant with Tim, as you know. I was not really. We've talked about from Shadow Kingdom.
Talking about Tim from Shadow Kingdom.
Yeah, I was very like, I don't want to be on a label. I don't want anything. I was like and he was messaging me all the time. And he's like, let me just put this out. He's like, you need vinyl, you need
At
this.
this time, it's just a 4-song EP.
Yeah.
That's it, right?
Didn't even have anybody. No band. No,
right.
Not even the thought of a band. And I was like, and I even told him that. I was like, I don't have a band, bro. I'm like, I can't tour this.
Is Beastmaker officially broken up at this point?
No.
Okay.
We had some festivals scheduled.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like, it was weird because when I started talking with Shadow Kingdom, you know, he's like, why don't you put a band together? And I'm like, nah, I don't want to right now. I was like, first off, I was trying to like, I just had bought a house. So I'm with my wife, you know, we're trying to get our life started.
Right.
And I had to work.
Right.
So I'm working and touring, like, and I had this 18-year long hair career, you know, like I've been doing hair for 18 years at that point. Maybe a little bit less than, maybe, you know, like 14 or 15. But, you know, I'm like, I have a mortgage. You know, I'm like, I can't fucking go do this, like, right now. Yeah. Like, it's not possible. And then he put out Luminous Eyes, and like it kept, you know, I don't know how many press. See, I don't care about that. You know me. I'm just put it out. When it's gone, it's gone. I don't fucking care. I'm gonna write another one. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's my forte. But like he kept going, dude, this is popular, man. He's like, this is really doing well. You should really consider a band. And so I have to give a lot of credit to Tim for kind of like being the guy pushing me. But it wasn't until he was like, listen, there's a festival in Houston. It's called Hell's Heroes. It's the dude from Venomous Maximus putting it together. You know, the cool bands are playing. You know, it was back when it was like 12 bands. Did you guys play that year?
You played the first one.
You played the first one.
Serotongal and I did.
That's right. I mean, it's so long.
That's why he started the festival.
Yeah.
He came to Frost and Fire because I booked Venomous, and he's like, I want to do this in Houston. I go, I'll help you out.
Yeah.
And then I needed a show for Serotongal in Texas, and he's like, this is it. This is it. Like, let's do it.
That's right. Yeah. You're right. Now that I think about
that's where I met you.
That's when we first met, and I remember it like it was yesterday because you were wearing an Angel Witch shirt. The same Angel Witch shirt. I didn't wear it, and it's funny. I was like, I'm glad I didn't wear my Satan shirt today because we've been twinning again. I mean, there's been multiple times, but I remember very specifically seeing you with that Angel Witch shirt. You intimidated me a little bit back then. I was a little bit. I didn't really know how I was going to fit in with everybody yet because I just started to meet everybody at that time. That was like the first like introduction that all of us had as a everybody was there.
It's natural. I mean, Night Demon's first gig out of town was at a festival in Chicago, you know, and that's kind of you're immersed into it and you're kind of overwhelmed by it, you know?
Yeah, it was a terrible show. We played horribly, but like if Christian hadn't have done that, and I've always given him credit for this because he gave me a really good guarantee.
Yeah.
And Tim was like, hey dude, this dude's willing to pay this, put a fucking band together. And I was like, dude, I have 4 songs.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't. I'm like, I gotta write. And he's like, I'll give you a fucking record deal right now. I'll give you whatever you want. Get working on it.
Right.
So like, that's how all that happened, man. And like, and heavy metal's everything to me.
So you're writing
Burst in the Flame. Yeah.
cool.
I was actually writing Burst into Flame while I was moving all my stuff from like my house that like we were renting to the house that I just bought.
Right.
So it was kind of crazy because I'm like trying to like set up a studio.
Play Hell's Heroes, how many songs do you have at this point?
And at that point, we had Burst into Flame written. We had Reflectors. We had, I think, maybe a song called Looking Glass. And that was it.
Yeah.
And we ended up not playing Burst into Flame because I met Savage Master and ended up getting so stoned that I could barely talk. So
before your set.
Yeah.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah, it was bad.
No wonder you thought it was horrible.
Oh, it was crazy because I got up there and I was like, oh fuck, and then plus I was nervous because like we had only played a handful of shows and like.
Oh, so you'd already done some shows then?
Oh, dude, I wasn't going in there half cocked.
So you were playing Fresno and shit.
We played our first show in Fresno, and then we did this like really like. We met up with Hellfire because I know Tony because he's.
That's funny because our first ever like regional tour. Was Hellfire. Like before Jake was even in the band, they had another singer. They've been a band longer than any of us.
All of us. Crazy. Tony's been in the game forever.
And it's been Hellfire for a long time.
It really has, and they're a very hardworking band.
First San Francisco show.
I still feel like they're one of the most undercredited, underrated ones to come out. I don't know. I know why. There's a couple reasons, but I won't say them.
I know what you're talking about, and it's not any fault.
It's not their fault. Yeah. It's just you know you kind of got to go in the direction that everybody else is going, and not have any dealings with other things, other genres.
Yeah.
You kind of got to stay that. In Shadow Kingdom at the time, they didn't have a genre. Tim was like kind of band that would come out. He was doing all kinds of stuff back then.
They would reissue a lot of old school, really obscure metal.
Yeah, and Tim is good in that light.
He put out the first Night Demon EP.
Yeah, you know? Tim is
one of the many labels that did.
Tim is very. I always felt like Tim was a very knowledgeable heavy metal guy with really good taste.
Yeah.
And that drew me to him, and I still love Tim to this day. I don't have any, even though I haven't been with Shadow Kingdom in years, I if it wasn't for him pushing me, I wouldn't have put a band together, and I wouldn't have created this we could fast forward to now 2025, and like there's like this family thing that's evolved from it, like you and I have become great friends because of this, and Christian, and like there's so many people, we know all the bands, like all the Visigoth down to Midnight to just everybody, even if you don't know them well, since we're all affiliated some way, it just becomes an instant friendship.
Weird? Like I always thought was weird. It's like when you see like celebrities, like they'll meet at a party and they'll never have met, and they'll be like, "Oh hey, what's up?" Like, because they know each other's work. They have so many mutual friends, and it's like they know each other and they're comfortable with each other. Where it's not like there's no fandom there, like or like Punisher fandom, right?
Sure.
I feel the same now with the metal scene. It's like, you know what I mean? We can meet other people and we know who each other are, and it's just like, hey, oh great, like we're big fan of each other's work. And you immediately have something in common to talk about because we're sharing the same lived experience.
We really are, and the one thing that's been really honestly one of the better parts of everything over this last almost 10 years now has been that I don't feel like the bands like push each other around like, oh, they suck or whatever. There's no like, everybody kind of holds each other up a little bit.
There's way more camaraderie.
Yeah, I didn't expect that because like in the Doom scene, I didn't feel that as much.
In a lot of scenes, there's a lot of that. Even in a lot of metal subgenre scenes. Yeah. Some of the more extreme metal scenes, I see a lot of politics, guys that hate each other, a bunch of drama, a lot of controversy, and maybe that's due to the nature of being extreme. And I respect the lengths that those bands are willing to go. But it's not something that I'm in this to make friends and to like enjoy my life,
It's been a fun ride, man. I mean, all these, I've done you know, a lot of shows, a lot of touring, and I've been obviously I've helped a lot of bands come here.
You've produced a ton of bands,
and you know, it's like I feel like that's just like part of it now. Is like that part of it almost is more meaningful than Haunt itself.
Yeah, you have to raise everybody up, right?
Because I've always said I'm only as good as whoever else is out there. You know, I'm not any better.
You don't want to be the only one.
You don't want to be the only one.
The issue I have with bands of our generation and in our scene is like they don't last, and it's their own. It's their own detriment. Like they quit when things get really tough, you know. But like,
and it is tough.
It is, but that's what the art life is supposed to be.
Yeah.
If it was hobbies are supposed to be fun, and you do them in your spare time.
Yeah.
That's what they're for. If you want to live the life of an artist, it's going to be hard. It's designed that way, and you're better off by facing it head on.
And look how many band members I've gone through. It's like almost a miracle.
How many do you think?
I've gone through 2 bass players until Sam. I've gone through one. That's so no. Oh, sorry. Matt and Taylor were my 2 bass players. So 2, and then Wolfie, my old drummer, and then I've gone through John Tucker, who played guitar he played guitar in Haunt and was the bass player for Beastmaker.
Andy Lee.
And then Andy Lee now. So I've had 5 different guys in my band.
Plus the 3 you have. So there's been 9 people in Haunt, including yourself.
Yeah. So it's like, but it's never deterred me from continuing on, even though it's like,
But dude, okay, the output is insane. So like,
truly.
So late 2017 is the release of your first EP.
Yeah.
We're not even to late 2025 yet. So we're less than 8 years. You've got 10 albums, 3 EPs, and a couple split singles. How many songs is that released in the catalog?
I can't even remember.
I mean, that's got to be, they're all 10-song albums, right?
8, most of them are 8.
Okay, so like, I mean, but still, that's got to be 80 songs at least.
Yeah, there's probably at least that for sure.
Like released, now
I got to think here. Burst into Flame, Icarus Could Fly, Mind Freeze, Flashback, Windows of Your Heart. And then Golden Arm and Dreamers. So 7 full-length albums in that light. And now we got like, I would call them more of like, you know, I did that unplugged thing. Yeah. So that's like, that would be 8, but it's a compilation. Yeah. Chariot compilation. Triumph compilation. Yeah. So those aren't like new songs. Right. So but the EP, Luminous Eyes and Mosaic Vision. Yeah. So that would be like another full album.
The split singles.
2 split singles. One with Fortress from Los Angeles and Seven Sisters from England, right. And that basically covers everything I've done, which is a lot because there's been physical release for all of it. Yeah. So and that's you know what I deal with that.
Of course, yeah.
It's crazy.
But it's wild, man. But so was there an end game here? What are the goals?
The goal for me was just like always been, I mean, anybody that has heard me talk before knows, like, first and foremost, songwriter, producer dude. Like, I really, I see my older years being like, I've helped a couple bands now get their wings, and I would love to continue that and have them, have more bands be able to like utilize my studio. I don't want any money. I just do it for free. I don't fucking care. Like,
you deserve to get paid for
it. Yes, but in a way that's like it matters so little sometimes because I have Haunt.
Yeah.
If I didn't have Haunt, I'd have a completely different mentality of the use of my studio.
Right.
So since I have Haunt, I'm like, at these bands, the thing is like, they're going to end up needing me.
Right.
Because when they go to like, try to do an album with somebody else that's not a creative, they're going to really quickly see that having somebody there that can like really like put something on the
producer. That knows how to play.
That writes their own songs. I look at the lyrics and go, this doesn't make any fucking sense. You got to change all of this. Like, this is crap. I will tell them to their face. And I could say that because, I mean, regardless how, we both know this, no matter how big your status is of a band, Night Demon and Haunt and many of our other friends' bands, we've done really cool things, and we are popular within our own realm. And who knows, 10, 20 years from now, what that means.
Oh, shit.
So because a lot of us, we aren't going to go away. You know what I mean? I don't have any end game in sight.
In 20 years, I can only imagine how many releases you have.
I don't think it'll go on that long. I kind of have. I've said this before. I would like to get to 20 albums before I hang it up to dry.
That's insane.
But what's interesting is like I just finished a new record, and I could honestly say it's different than anything I've done.
I mean, and look, if the spark's still there, the inspiration's still there, why stop?
That's a whole thing where I found a new realm within. It's Haunt, but there's some big surprises on there. I wrote a ballad.
Great.
That is not.
We've been doing that since album 2. It's the best thing we ever did.
Yeah, not even in the light of like a heavy metal. Like I feel like there's elements of The Cure in it too. Cool. All kinds of things, even downright to a lot of my riff writing is like I've always really tried to write guitar riffs that are about as original as they could get. I do not like a regurgitated guitar riff.
Yeah.
That's like I am anti that.
Right.
Like it has to have some sort of uniqueness to it that you didn't hear it on somebody else's record. That shit bothers me.
Right.
So I really took some like time on this one to like hone in some things of different genres.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy that there's like so much music available now. It's like you really do have to dig deep to like do something different.
You have to dig really deep,
even to not repeat yourself.
Yeah, repeating yourself is.
I think Night Demon has a lot of cliche stuff early on. We got it out of our system, but it's like we weren't taking it seriously as we do now. So it was kind of like we were just living out childhood fantasies. Like later in life, going like I always wanted a song called Satan. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I would never write that now.
No.
People love it still, but you know what I mean? It's like, it's not what I want to lead off with. Do you know what I mean?
I just listened to Outsider 2 days ago, and its entirety, the deluxe edition that's on YouTube Music, so I could like listen to all of it, even though you give me your records before they come out. I told you this, like Beyond the Grave, like that is next level Night Demon
experimentation. Got it there though, right?
Yeah, and there's a lot more clean tone on that, which is nice because it lets you sing in a way that you don't, the Diamond Head thing that like I once pinned to your band before I even knew who Jarvis Leatherby was. That's faded into oblivion.
What
that's
I like,
not
though, is
even
that it's
there
still
anymore.
There.
Is. You have it, but like you've evolved it.
No, right. I mean, just the songs are still there, right?
Yeah, so. and it's amazing to me that maybe there are cliches, and even in my own music, there's a lot of like there's a lot of cliche repetitiveness that sometimes I even did. The one thing I didn't want to do with Haunt though, because of Beastmaker is no horror. I left that to I hung that up to dry.
If you go to Metal Archives, I think it's like it always says like what the band sounds like or whatever.
Yeah,
and I think like it describes Haunt like, I mean it's a few different things, but I think it talks about like struggle.
Yeah,
struggle is what like talks about like life struggles.
Yes,
which is pretty cool. Like to be like in a metal band and like have that like, because usually it's what are your themes? Evil and darkness if you're metal, right?
Steel, swords, axes,
sure.
Battles.
Yeah, medieval themes. Right? Yeah, or fantasy.
Fantasy for sure. I've disregarded all that, and like the reason for Haunt was for me to have a better sense of my lyrics. I wanted to write lyrics that connect people to things that I had dealt with and that I continue to deal with, like a lot of tragedy, obviously, and people know that. But I always find little ways sometimes to throw some of those, like I'll dust it. That way people like could connect to it too, a sword. We'll use I have a song Steel Mountains, but it has nothing to do with...
you need metaphors to make an interesting
so
song.
you use some of these things here and there, but it's not exactly about that. And the name Haunt was not to be a spooky thing, and I knew it was gonna maybe translate that way when I came up with it, but I wanted to be haunt is because the deaths of my cousins has haunted me, and everything that I do to this day, my life has never been the same. It will never be the same. I have no one to talk about. I have one cousin. She's much younger than me. We're very, very close. But I mean, I was always the older brother type to her. I'm a decade older than her. So I don't really have anybody to talk to about my childhood with. So a lot of stuff is forgotten, and so I write lyrics to remember it in ways, because otherwise there's nobody knows. I could make it all up. Yeah. You know what I mean? And when I'm, you know what it's like when you hang out with your friends. Like I said, earlier I was saying, I still remember seeing you for the first time. Angel Witch shirt. I mean, clear as day, we're upstairs at White Oak Music Hall, and I just kind of walked by you. I shook your hand, we introduced ourselves to each other. Barely probably even spoke at all after that. Probably because Savage Master got me fucking completely. They had so much weed, it was wonderful. So, but they had a whole different band back then,
right?
So, some of those dudes aren't even around anymore.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things. It's we could talk about that, and I will remember it. I have somebody to tell the story to, whereas so Haunt was not meant to ever be cliche in the light of horror,
but it probably worked
or whatever.
in your favor because people that are into that stuff, and it's because it's not you're not into that stuff.
No, yeah,
check it out. Just much like a band like Demon,
yeah,
they're gonna check it out and go, wow, this is evil and all this, but then they realize wow, this is really catchy music, and it's you know what? Even though I'm into evil and
Satan,
darkness, I like catchy music.
Satan,
yeah, exactly,
the most Satan band on the planet Earth. I mean, it's almost
Ghost.
Ghost is pretty
same amount of letters in the word as haunt.
Yeah,
right? Am I right? Yeah. Do I know how to spell?
GHOSTHAUNT. Yeah, five. I got. You know what's funny is when we started, some of the reviews were they said I kept my hooks very simple, like Ghost.
Yeah.
That was very unintentional at the time.
Well,
I had very little. I think they only had their first album on Rise Above out, and
which
barely.
Was great, man.
Yeah, they really changed a lot of things.
I saw
for
them
me.
at the Troubadour on their first tour, and I was I had no idea. I hadn't heard them before. I went with some friends. And I was like, man, if these guys keep doing this, this is going to be huge.
I think that first Papa was the fucking gnarliest.
Their show was so basic, and it worked. They had the masks, but they were basic. And then he came out, all he had was the incense burner thing. That was pretty much it.
Yeah.
And the songs fucking ruled. And it was it was
really,
a vibe.
Those are really good songs, and it's weird because I just read something the other day that he's he's spoken openly about he doesn't know how much longer he could continue the Papa transformation.
Oh, he can keep going.
You
get creative.
Yeah, he's gonna have to.
You never think that.
But I mean, man, that I always thought, I was like, man, that must be hard to always have to write about Satan.
It is.
You really have to pull from a lot of areas, and I've always really admired Tobias for his metaphorical lyric writing that he does, and how he makes it work to where it's almost you're that's clever, because I'm I would have never thought of that, and he's still really staying true to the form, and you're just but it almost sounds, but they got a lot of shit because people don't think they're a heavy metal band.
Yeah, well, it's kind of funny because in I think it was 2017, late 2017, I flew to Berlin. Night Demon won a Metal Hammer Award for best upcoming band. Before they opened the envelope or whatever, they gave out an award before that. I think it was Artist of the Year or something, and Ghost won. And one of the nameless ghouls accepted the award, right? Mm-hmm. With the mask, no mouth, right? So I go, it's then now I'm like, fuck, are we going to win? And we did, and I was so stoked. And I went down, got the award on the podium. I went backstage right after, oh, hell yeah, right? I've got this fucking trophy, whatever. And I see Tobias from Ghost, like, taking off, like, the get-up. Like, so it was him underneath it the whole time.
Damn.
And he's wearing a Diamond Head shirt.
That's
and we started
sick.
talking, and it's like, dude, this guy likes cool shit, you know?
Yeah, he's great. I mean, I've never once, like, I'm very different. I'm like a lot of different music, so I've never been one of the types to be somebody that is like, this band's not cool because of this or whatever, the gimmick, you know, like, or whatever. And I'm like, this dude writes really good songs, and that's all that matters in the end.
I've come to realize two things about this kind of stuff, okay? First of all, don't ever listen to criticism from somebody you wouldn't take advice from. And second of all, when people don't criticize people below them.
Yeah.
So it's like if you're criticizing somebody that hard, you're not punching down. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you're only doing it because there's a hint of jealousy there. Like, you have to give credit. You have to. I mean, look, dude, I'm making a film, and it's so difficult. But I realize I've seen so many crap movies in the last 5 years. But you know what? Those guys made the fucking movie, and they released it, and I watched it.
Yeah.
That needs to be respected. Well, all of our tastes are different. All of our tastes are different. But,
it's hard.
But for somebody like that to take a band like that far, like, and do an arena tour, like, he's doing something right that, like, I haven't done. So I'm the last one that's gonna be
the only thing
trying to take something out of his.
The only negative I have to say, and I have to say it because, like, it's always bothered me because I've seen Ghost quite a few times, is that, like, he takes out some really shitty bands. Like, really bad. Like, I do not like them, and
Again,
I'm like,
I think it's a matter of opinion, but also you could say that about most bands we love.
If he would harness, he should harness his heavy metal community.
I know, but hold on. You could say that about most bands we love.
Who?
Just the bigger bands. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna name.
I will say this though. You know, when Iron Maiden took out Coheed and Cambria, I thought,
when was that?
It was a long time ago. But I actually really enjoyed that show because you got like a completely different type of band that is very good. That guy's a very good singer and guitar player. I always have mad respect for a dude that could play pretty technical stuff and sing.
Concept records and
and so I thought that was great, but people were hella talking shit the whole time.
It's fine.
So I mean, those kind of things I like, but like, there's been a number of times I've seen Ghost where I'm like,
let's not name it.
I'm just saying. I thought that was a cool dynamic.
Yeah.
Like, where things have...
No, I get it. One of the reasons that I don't like to
I know why.
downplay other...
I do. It's not a downplay.
No, but you know what I'm saying. It's like people that listen to us, they respect us and our opinions, and like...
Yeah.
It's not like for us to... everybody has their own taste and opinion, you know. It's not for us to. I don't want anybody to listen to what I say and have it change their mind if they really like something, you know what I mean?
Sure.
That's not, you know.
Sure.
But anyway,
sure.
Regardless of any other bands, I think the best way to wrap this up is like, just, you know, what do you want now that you've done all this fucking music and really in such a short amount of time, and it's very impressive because it's like in your 30s, this is your most like creative period of your life so far. I mean, kind of how do you want to be remembered? Like when all is said and done through the music. Like, is it Beastmaker? Is it Haunt? Is it all of it?
Definitely like, Haunt. I mean, I don't look at Beastmakers like I don't have like.
It's I don't have a combination of the both. You think?
No, I don't have a very deep fondness for it because it's plagued with things that I don't really want to like bring up because like I don't own it, so like there's certain things that will bother me for years. So, and plus I just don't enjoy playing it as much. Like I could tell, you know, like when I just played, we just played our last show. So like
I mean, all business aside, like it's like musically, if you never felt like okay, this band like, was very important and made a mark, and like as it was important.
We were too late. We were too late. We were too late to the fucking doom.
Right.
Haunt is it. I'm 43 years old. I'll be 44 this year. I personally like, you know, I love this. I love my band. I love my friends. I love all the bands that I just hope that when in the end, when I'm done, I'm old and decrepit, I just hope people just when they look back and think about me, that I've helped them in some way, whether it be touring, recording a record, or just being a good friend, or just being there. I just hope people have like a really nice, positive thing to say about me, because that's important to me. That's something that over success, money, is just that being remembered as somebody that cared enough, you know, to do that, because that's major, because that's, who cares about all the other shit? You can't bring that with you. It means nothing. But if you did something for somebody, and it helped them on their journey, just even a little bit of the way, they're gonna remember you forever because of that. And then they could only say, you know, the motherfucker was a cool dude and helped people out, and it was never all about him.
I feel exactly the same.
You know what I mean? That's why we're friends, is because that's just kind of how it goes. And it's like, and we both know there is an expiration date to how far you can even help people, because there's the point in time where you just go, well, it's time for me to I'm going to find my next project of people that need me. Right. I've given you guys all I can, what I know, and now it's on the next. I'd love to be able to, again, like, be a producer, not necessarily a recording guy. I like to record bands. I don't really like to sit there and listen to it 9 million times to try to make it to, you know, it's like more or less of like, get the song good, right, and that's going to be 90% of your battle there. Then you got to do all the other stuff. So, and hopefully, you know, again, like I said, as long as my heart's beating and I'm playing guitar in front of people and I'm doing Haunt, and I will always, like, whomever is with me on tour, I've helped them in some way. You know what I mean? Just even getting here, to using my gear. You know, I can't even count how many bands I've let use my back line. Right. You know, endless. And it's like, I don't even care. Like, it means nothing to me, as long as it's like, if it's like makes the show better, helpful. That goes a long way. Yeah. Straight up.
Thanks, dude.
Love you, brother.
Love you too, man.
The
Hey guys, Nesbitt here. If you'd like to support Night Demon and this podcast, the best way to do it is to become a Night Demon subscriber. Not only will you be doing your part to support a true heavy metal band out there really living it, you'll also gain access to a ton of extras. Bonus audio content, a subscriber-only merch store with rare items from the band's archives. You can stream never-before-heard demos and unearth live concerts from the live vaults. Communicate with the other Night Demon diehards on an exclusive subscriber forum, and gain early access to all press releases, album pre-orders, new merchandise, and a ton more. And another thing that I think is pretty cool is Night Demon will be donating 10% of every subscription fee to the Metal Cares Foundation, which is a charitable fund the band started in 2014 to aid those in our metal community. So head over to nightdemon.net/subscriber and join us as we make heavy metal history together as one. And on a side note, I'll personally think you're a grade A badass.
Thanks for listening to the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast. Head over to nightdemon.net, click on the subscriber tab, and sign up to access exclusive weekly bonus content. If you would like to donate to support the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast, you can do so through PayPal at paypal.me/nightdemonmetal. Additionally, if you have not already done so, please subscribe, like, rate, and review the show on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts.
All hail, Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast listeners. This is Dusty Squires chiming in to tell you about my brand new signature sticks from the London Drumstick Company. I've dreamt of having my very own drumsticks ever since I was a wee lad, and LDC made that a possibility for me. Founded in 2016 in London, England, the birthplace of heavy metal, the London Drumstick Company has trailblazed a path through the music industry and taken the drummer world by storm. When I met them for the first time, they knew their product was going to withstand the beatings of a Night Demon show. They took the time to work with me on getting everything just right. The balance and weight of my sticks are the same no matter what, and the durability is bar none the best I've ever had. I know my sticks will last through the set night after night. I'm truly honored to work with a company that caters to their players the way LDC does. Their innovation and attention to detail is what separates them from the rest of the stick makers out there. Their custom stick sleeves are unbelievable and really make the entire presentation complete. Wait until you see the design they came up with for me. It blew my mind and was a surprise to say the least. They have all kinds of amazing swag, including hoodies, t-shirts, drummer shorts, drum keys, stick bags, towels, face masks, practice pads, and much, much more. Even if you're not a drummer, you can be a part of Demon history and order my brand new signature sticks direct from their website. How cool is that? And to top it off, the London Drumstick Company are giving an exclusive offer to the Night Demon Heavy Metal Podcast listeners. Go to londondrumsticks.co.uk and receive a 15% store-wide discount using promo code DEMONSTICKS. All capital letters, no spaces, Demon Sticks. DEMONSTICKS. I can't thank everyone there enough for the opportunity to be a part of their family and for them trusting me with their amazing products. See you metal maniacs on the road very soon. And yes, the wood chips will be flying.
Greetings, boils and ghouls. This is your comrade, the Crypt Keeper here, reporting dead from the sanctuary of the strange. Tonight's macabre myth is a fright-filled feature, one overflowing with monsters, madness, and magic.
Visit our website at monstersmadnessandmagic.com to stay up to date on all the dark dealings within the sanctuary of the strange. Enjoy the show.
Hey Metalheads, I'm Mark and I host the Metal Forge. Let me tell you about the show. The Metal Forge features the best underground metal from all over the world. We spend every week with a different artist with interviews, in-depth conversations, and most of all, the music. We also feature audience interactivity where you can submit your questions to the upcoming guests. New episodes are out every Friday at noon Eastern Time at metalforgeradio.com or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Want to know what's going on in the world of music? Then tune in to the Nothing Shocking Podcast, a non-genre based, all ages friendly rock and roll program. Join us weekly for interviews with all your favorite rock stars from the mainstream to the underground. You can find us at nothingshocking.libsyn.com or anywhere you download podcasts.
Okay, metalheads, you've been complaining that there has not been a channel that plays all of the heavy metal videos from past, present, and future for years and years at this point. Well, that time is over. Heavy Metal Television is back. HeavyMetalTelevision.net is the website. Go there. You can see videos playing 24/7, 365, all the time, all the best from the old school, the new school, and everything in between. Check it out, HeavyMetalTelevision.net. It is where the metal is.